to the puzzle as it relates to selling, because selling seeps in all aspects of all of our development. Three dynamic attributes to soar above the crowd. And those three attributes were velocity, thrust, and the law of lift. Now, we've been able to briefly touch on two of those areas in the last few days, velocity and thrust. Today, we're going to look at the law of lift. One of the things comes to mind when we think about the air and we think about lift is the air, unlike the land and the sea, is not a place you hang out in. It's not a place you live. Any mammal that is in the air is doing one thing, moving from one location to the next. That's the only purpose of being in the air for any bird, any mammal, to move from one place to the next. So the key to being able to utilize the air to get from one point to another is to decrease resistance, decrease drag, and decrease gravity, so that you can take advantage of the force of air to move through the air to get you where you like to go. And the law of lift is built on minimizing resistance. That's why you don't have anything in the sky that is in the shape of a house, because it doesn't minimize resistance. It's weight. The key is symmetry and falling in accordance that allows you to move through the air with minimum drag. So we want to look at what it is we need to do in our lives to minimize our drag. What is it we need to do to minimize weight? What is it we need to do to minimize all the things that inhibit us to get transported from one spot to another? And that requires design. Design. The power of wings on a jet is the design. It's designed to move symmetrically. The cabin is designed to minimize resistance. The wings are designed so that it's low pressure on the top and high pressure on the bottom. Why? Because high pressure on the bottom with symmetry causes it to lift. And when you have thrust and velocity in accordance with symmetry and lift, you've got propulsion going forward with minimum problems. And that is what it is all about in terms of us getting where we got to go. We often are not built right. We are not organized right. We are not designed right. And because of the design, the building, and the orchestration of what we have, it increases our weight. And when we look at our problems, when we look at our challenges, when we look at our obstacles, we see a tremendous amount of drag. We see a tremendous amount of resistance. We see a tremendous amount of weight. And that has to be arrested, or you use so much energy to get nowhere. Why? Because you got too much drag, too much resistance, too much weight. We use so much thrust to never change our problems. Why? We've got too much drag, too much resistance, and too much weight. So we have to be able to raise the questions in our lives, in our communities. What is giving us excess weight? What is giving us excess drag? And what is giving us excess resistance? Over to you, Kevin. I'd like to thank you for tuning in to today's morning inspirational message. It is our hopes that you will be able to look at yourselves, look at your family, look at your community, and look at the things we need to change and ask yourselves, are we taking advantage of the law of lift? Are we increasing our velocity? Are we developing and designing things so that we get maximum thrust? And then we can begin to look at in ourselves, our lives, our families, and our communities, what is giving us drag? What is giving us resistance? And what is giving us excess weight, so that we cannot get transported to where we want to be, what we want to do, and what we want to have. And when we begin to look at ourselves and our lives in that context, it makes us very motivated and inspired to be about training to win, training to get into allowing versus resisting, training to get into our velocity versus our drag, training to get thrust and overcome the weight of gravity. That has to be our pursuit. That has to be our challenge. And that has to be our commitment. And then when we do that as a group, as a people, as we do that in terms of our focus of landing on our desires and purpose, then we begin to locate the time. We begin to get the right coordinates. We begin to see ourselves moving toward it. We get stronger and more capable to handle turbulence. We always have to get up to the temperature of movement, the temperature of power, the temperature of thrust. We have to always realize we have to raise our temperature. And a lot of times when you raise the temperature just 1 degree, you get to get warmer and warmer. Continuing to move it up, you get hotter and hotter. And then you move from warm to hot to very hot until you get over 212 degrees, and now you're boiling. And when you're boiling, you then can produce steam, and steam can produce power that can move an engine. Now you can have the thrust to begin to move yourself out because you've decreased the weight, you've decreased the drag, and now you're increasing the velocity, you're increasing the thrust, and you've got a law of lift to power your movement. What did Kanye say in his song? He said he used his confidence or arrogance as a steam to power his dreams. What are you using to power your dreams? What are you using to power your vision? What is it you are using to power your desires so you are moving toward your desires to accomplish what you want? We thank you for calling in for today's morning inspirational message, because this is a very powerful venue in which we can communicate with each other for change and growth. We'd like you to call a friend, call a family member, and begin to look at this message. Begin to discuss this message. Begin to sit down in groups and really discuss what you've learned, what you've heard, and what you've thought of. And use that time, use that energy to shape the environment, shape your thoughts, shape what you hear, shape the pictures you bring into your life that can begin to give you the steam to power your dreams. The beauty of this medium is you can tune into it anytime. You can begin to revisit it. You can begin to look at it over. You can compare it to previous messages to put the pieces to the puzzle together that gives you the design that will transport you to where you want to be. Take a message to log into our medium. Take a message to log into this YouTube. Subscribe to it. Leave a message. Leave a comment. Leave a concern. Express your feelings. Express your sentiment. Begin to discuss what you are going to use as the steam to power your dreams. Begin to use it to discuss how you are going to redesign yourself and your family and your community to take advantage of the force of air so that you get a better law of lift, transporting you to where you want to be, where you want to do, and what you want to have. We look forward to bringing you this message of optimism because I know we can redesign it. We look forward to bringing you this message of positive expectations because I know we can locate that point of our desires, that point of our purpose, that point of our our passions, and take ourselves where we want to be, where we want to do, and what we want to have. So this message of optimism will do that. This message of positive expectation is designed for that. This message of growth will give us the velocity and speed to lift ourselves up. And prosperity will give us the things that we need to pull the resources together. Why? Because we have everything we need at our disposal. It's the coordination, it's the design, and it's the unification of all the parts that will give us what we desire. Have a great and fantastic day. Go out and make your life free, happy, and fulfilled. and touch the lives of those around you. Share with them what you've learned. Share with them what you've understand. Examine the ingredients in your own spirit and help them to examine the ingredients in their spirit. Because truly, in fact, only you can change you. Only they can change themselves. So you help to bring those things to them and show them to them and help them to cultivate the process for change, growth, and expansion. This is your friend and your brother, Brother Tambuzi, saying, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.